CMS acknowledges the traditional owners of this land, the Ngunnawal people, and respect their elders past, present, and emerging.
What was that? Because they'll be like,
A lot of South Africa actually speaks English.
pure, clean food
Like
in that
double
sense.
dipping.
Yeah, double dipping effectively.
CMS Lingo Lounge 91.1.
Hello and welcome to Lingo Lounge on CMS FM 91.1. I'm Isha and this is Evan,
Hi, guys.
and we're excited to be doing some languages today.
All right. Let's get started. Aisha, I think you can go first.
Sure, thanks, Evan. So my name's Aisha. I speak English, Hindi, and a little bit of French as well. And I'm excited to be learning about Afrikaans from Evan, and maybe talk a little bit about my experience with Hindi as well.
Yes, and I know Afrikaans and English, and I am also excited to learn about Hindi with Aisha. So, yeah, this is going to be great.
So, Evan, first tell me, how did you learn Afrikaans?
I learned Afrikaans as I was not really taught by my parents, but I always talked at home. My parents discouraged talking English, so it was we talked Afrikaans at home as like a home language, and it just kind of grew, and that's how I know it now. Yeah. How about you, Aisha? How did you learn Hindi?
Yeah, kind of similar. I actually learnt it a lot by watching TV shows that were in Hindi, which was somewhat accidental. So when I tried to learn Hindi deliberately, I was a little bit better than I thought I would be because I had watched some of those TV shows beforehand. So that was a good lesson for me when I was really young, that watching shows in the language is really helpful. My parents spoke English very often, which is like a Hindi-English sort of combination of language, but they speak English at home all the time as well. So I never had this full, very deep sort of way of learning Hindi. I knew a little bit, but I really became conversational once I had started watching TV shows in Hindi. So I think about like how valuable that was in shaping my learning experience. But I also, just going out and making other friends that spoke Hindi, and I feel like over the years I've learnt that I need to be a little bit more deliberate with that sometimes, because a language can be lost if you don't speak it. And I feel like that might be why your parents try and encourage it as well.
Talking at home, yeah.
Would you say that speaking Afrikaans is a big part of your identity?
Yes, definitely. It helps me feel like part of the South African community, which is great. And I think that it lets you, speaking Hindi, lets you be a part of the Indian community, which is great. Yeah.
So can you teach me some basic things in Afrikaans?
So for, like saying greetings, you got goeiemorgen, goeiemorgen, goeiemiddag, and goeienacht. So all of those means like good greeting, like good morning, good afternoon, good night. So goeiemorgen means good morning, goeiemiddag means good afternoon, and goeienacht means good night. And you notice that some of them sound like really similar to English, and I can't remember the exact word now, but it's like Afrikaans is somewhat a new language, and it takes its roots from Dutch, English, French, and German.
Yeah, wow.
But it's mostly a Dutch-derived language.
Yeah, wow. So it's really a language that's somewhat of the world in that sense.
Yes, indeed. Sorry.
And so is hoi meaning good?
Goeie? Yes.
Goeie.
For Afrikaans, you have a lot of guttural sounds that not a lot of English speakers could pronounce that I've seen. The is what you're trying to pronounce, like goeie and middag. Right, so that's one of the sounds you have to pronounce in Afrikaans, and also the enunciated R, like rolling your R's, like r, I'm pretty sure other languages do it as well. I think maybe Hindi, because I've got a few Hindi-speaking friends, and I think they roll the R's as well, but I don't know. Parents actually teach their kids phrases to learn these sounds. Like for rolling the R, they'd say rooi rabbit ram to do it. So, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I don't think I would be able to say those if I tried, but Could you repeat them? I'd like to try.
So there's two. There's the rolling the R, so R, and then there's the
Arr,
R.
arr.
Yeah, so you gotta like roll it on the tongue and like the
Yeah.
back of the mouth. I can't explain how to do it. It's hard to explain how to do sounds, but yeah. And then the other one is like a more guttural sound, like coming from the throat, is what my mom said. It's like, like you're trying to. It sounds pretty like raw, but I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I get what you're saying because there's there's like 3 or so vowels, or not vowels, letters in Hindi that there's no equivalence for in English.
Yeah.
And so I often have some of my friends who don't speak Hindi, try and say it. And I know like they're just not going to be able to say it without practice because it is very hard to say. Like we have a letter called Ana.
Yeah. All right.
Which it's used in a few words. But yeah, like I have family members as well who grew up, who speak Hindi but have grown up in Australia their whole lives, who or in the UK or the US their whole lives, who still can't say it because it's one of those things that's very much, it takes a lot of time, I feel like, to be able to say it, perhaps.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I always find it really fascinating whenever you look at new languages or different languages, how there's like these sounds and it's almost like a whole world you're not exposed to if you don't know it.
Especially like Russian. Like, have you ever seen people speak in Russian? It's like really, really different to every language I've ever seen. And I think learning those new letters and sounds come from when you're like really young. Because when you're like young, you just make random sounds, and I feel like that grows into what you call a language. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot more about like other countries and other cultures through my love for soccer and international sport, and I feel like it's one of those things where, because you learn how, just by looking at social media posts, how like different languages can look and how they can sound and what the colors and those flags are and things, and it often makes me think about like, yeah, what kind of world is out there. Like there's, like you said, people who probably just speak Russian all the time and they're using these phrases and these ways of thinking that we wouldn't even think about.
Indeed. Sorry. I just wanted to talk again about like greetings. What would you say for like good morning, good afternoon, good night?
I'm trying to think. So what you do say technically is suprapad
All right.
in Hindi, but colloquially in the part of sort of India, or like the way that my parents sort of raised me and my friend group, and people often talk is very much English. And so you say some words in Hindi and some words in English, even in the same sentence. And so you could say superpod, but I feel like it's one of those things where most people wouldn't say that. They would say good morning.
Yeah.
Which is,
Similarly, I think when my brother and I are like speaking Afrikaans at home, we'd like substitute English words to Afrikaans words all the time, like when
Yeah,
we
right.
don't know the words, like especially for words that don't really have a substitute, like animals, like armadillo.
Yep.
My brother asked me in like the car ride here, what's an armadillo in Afrikaans? And none of us knew. It was, I think, gordeldier. It was super weird, but yeah.
yeah. No. And is it like, because for me it is like my brother and I will be talking in Hindi, but we'll be talking in English, and so we'll randomly say a few words in English, and it's like the same with you and your friends, where your friends will turn around and be like, what was that? Because they'll be like, where did that come from?
Yeah, and then they'll like act like they know the language now. Especially when like half of the language is like, sounds like English. Like for Afrikaans, when you say hello, it's hallo. And a lot of people think it's how's it, but how's it is more of a South African thing, not a Afrikaner thing.
Yeah,
like
right.
it's more of the country, not the culture. I think that makes sense.
Do you feel like you sort of almost think differently when you speak Afrikaans versus when you speak
Yeah.
English?
I think my accent changes as well, because I really like the South African accent, but I just don't hear it in my voice. Yeah, but when I'm actually talking Afrikaans, I think I have it. At least I hope I do.
Do you feel when you because you were mentioning earlier that you had been to South Africa a few times, have you found that people speak Afrikaans slightly differently there?
My mom, when I was going over there, my mom said they would realize that I don't have the South African accent, and they would know like I'm a tourist.
Yeah, right.
But when you're there, a lot of South Africa actually speaks English. It's just a couple of cities that speak Afrikaans, and they speak heavy Afrikaans. Like Pretoria and Bloemfontein. My mom shared a story where she was speaking English. She was in like an English-speaking city, like Durban, and she went to Bloemfontein. And when she was asking for gas there, she spoke English. She was like, "Oh, can I have some gas?" And the gas giver, I'm just gonna call him the gas giver. They were just like, excuse mevrouw," which is, "Excuse me, ma'am." So, this shows that, speak Afrikaans in different cities. Yeah.
Yeah, no, interesting. Even when I go back to India, if I'm going shopping with some of my friends, I probably won't speak that much because it will inevitably be looked at sort of differently. Like people can tell that I might not have grown up there. I don't have those like inflections and the traits of the dialect in my speech.
A lot of people think you're insulting them when you're speaking another language around them. So it's good to speak another language with people who know the other language, but when you're speaking with people who don't know the language, you should, stick to that language, like English.
Yeah, that's interesting. Some of my friends think when my brother and I will start speaking in Hindi, they think we're keeping a secret from everyone. Yep. And sometimes I won't even realise when I do it because it's just so natural.
Indeed.
And they will all be like, "No, tell me, what did you guys just say?"
Yeah. Anyway, for Hindi, how would you count? What are numbers in Hindi like?
So kind of like how obviously 1, 2, 3 is a very famous counter sort of thing. The Hindi version of that, which is ek do teen, is very popular in many sort of Bollywood movies and pop culture references and things. So people, there's a famous song with that name, and so that's sort of how people count. So it's kind of similar in that sense, where the first 10 numbers are sort of unique, and then you have things that suffixes and prefixes that get added on.
Yep.
However, for things like 18, 19, 17, 27, 28, 29, for all of those as well, Hindi has unique ways of saying those.
Special numbers.
Yeah. And those are where if you're someone who isn't fluent or hasn't grown up with that language, that's something that I think most people always get stuck at because there's so many of them.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure in Japanese, they have, special numbers as well. I think 20 is, hyakyu. Not hyakyu. Hyakyu is, baseball. But they have different numbers instead, so they don't have suffixes or prefixes. They're, unique numbers. And in Afrikaans, it's not like that. There's no unique or special numbers. It's just the same. It's yen, twee, drie. That's 1, 2, 3. But there is a difference with Afrikaans and English. With English, you would say 52. You'd say you go from left to right. But in Afrikaans, it's all over the place. It's sometimes right to left and sometimes left to right. If you're saying 52 in Afrikaans, you'd say 2 and 50. You'd say 52. So it would be different. But if you say 152, it would be 152. So 100, 250. So bit weirder.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you ever accidentally switch up in English?
No, I don't switch up how I say it, but I do switch up how I think about it in my head. Because I might say 152, but I meant to say 125. So yeah, it's different.
Yeah, interesting. And what other sort of colloquial phrases in Afrikaans?
I can't think of any colloquial phrases right now.
So in Hindi, people use the word yaar very often. And yaar just means friend. It's pretty much but people will add it sort of to the end of many sentences. It'll be don't do that to me, yaar. Or can you please help me, yaar? Or and it's kind of just sort of something people say. It technically means friend, but people just sort of say it, if that makes sense.
Use it colloquially. I honestly can't think of anything colloquially right now, but if it's of any help, I can think of something that's used seriously, in court dates.
Yeah.
Where they'd say, instead of saying you, they'd say I. So that would be used more formally. Also, for just regular sayings, you say ak as I, so it's not as similar to English. You say yay as you, and that's with a J, which is prominent in many European languages, where like a J acts as like a Y. Makes a y sound. We, as in like us, is like ons, and then they is hulle. So similar but different.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have any other things for?
Well, there's another word in Hindi, which is called chuda, but it's like chuda khana, and so khana means food, but it's in that context where it basically refers to it's just a word that doesn't have an English translation, but it basically refers to like sort of like, you know, when your friends maybe already tasted something from like the same dish and then you eat out of it, so it's kind of like been eaten by them before, if that sort of makes sense. Like it's you know, it's not pure clean food
Like
in that
double
sense.
dipping?
Yeah, double dipping effectively. But yeah, that's what it refers to, that food. And so when people like might be offering food to their friends or their family or someone, they might clarify that the food is either clean or like paka, or if it's like chuda, which means like someone's dipped into it before, basically.
All right. Talk about foods. What are some Hindi foods? Like,
Yeah.
what do you enjoy?
So obviously India is like a country with so many different languages, and Hindi is the dominant language of North India. And in North India, the most popular North Indian food in Australia has to be butter chicken. But in general, like one of my favorite foods is momos, which I believe are like Tibetan, Nepali inspired sort of dumplings, Indian style dumplings, and you get them over there with this spicy chutney, which is like a red dip.
I've heard of chutney. It tastes great, especially with hot dogs.
Yeah. And it always humbles me every time I go back because I'm like, I can eat it. And I
Too spicy. Yeah,
I can eat a little bit.
my spice tolerance is horrible. But no, Indian foods taste great. They're amazing. Like butter chicken as well. Tastes really good.
Yeah.
For South Africa, well, for the Afrikaans culture, we have a couple of foods. We got boerewors, which is like a sausage that we use, and my parents keep saying it's way better than Australian sausage because it's got certain herbs that make it better. Like they use cloves, which in Afrikaans are nalkies, and apparently that makes it like taste so much better. And I think the meat in like South Africa, just on an unrelated note, is like just a lot better in general. It's cheaper as well. When I was there, you get like Wagyu for a lot less than you get it here, and it still tastes great. Anyway, as well as sausage, there's also like a thing we call biscuit, which is rusks. I didn't know what they were until my mom told me. They're English dunking, breakfast dunking biscuits.
They're very popular in India too.
Yes. I didn't actually know that. I didn't know that. But yeah, my mom loves them, and she always shares them with her friends. So yeah.
In India, people have them with tea. I don't know if that's the same.
No. Tea, I don't think tea is as... I might be wrong. Tea might be popular in South Africa because there's a lot of English influence, but I don't know. Yeah.
Do you also find it interesting how, like, obviously, if you think about it, India, South Africa, Australia, all different countries that had English
British influence, yeah.
Yeah.
They all have British influence, and you can see it like in sports as well. Like cricket, rugby union, yeah, you can, very dominant. I think soccer as well, yeah.
Yeah. I also do find it interesting, though, how, like, sort of you think about how that culture has evolved, and it's similar but different because obviously every country has its own way of how they've sort of taken in some of that.
Yeah. Like with cricket, for example, like India, Australia, South Africa, and England, they all love and are good at cricket. So it's really just like a common factor of all those countries, just brings them together.
Yeah. People in India, I think, love cricket so much. Like, I just remember, like, whenever I'm there, there'd be, like, massive screenings for big games. And if there's, like, if India's playing in, like, a cricket World Cup final or something like of that sort, like it's on in every television or something in the country. Like it is one of those things where everyone is out watching it, everyone's out doing it. It's just like a full, complete cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, my Indian friends, they love cricket so much. Yeah, always talking about it. As well as cricket in South Africa, rugby union is probably like the most popular. In Australia, though, I've seen that rugby league is really prominent, but yeah, rugby union is like one of the most popular sports in South Africa.
Yeah, interesting. Did
Yeah.
your parents play any sports while they were there?
No, my parents weren't really the sporty type, but my family friends, yeah, they really, really liked rugby union. Yeah.
Nice. Do people get very passionate about their teams?
Yeah, I think just like India, just like how they love cricket, they really like cricket, rugby union, soccer. They really like all of them. Yeah.
Nice. What are any other interesting things about South African culture?
Well, South African tradition or like culture is very, very similar to Australia. Like it's Christian, European. Like you'd have holidays like Easter and Christmas, and they'd be like widely celebrated and accepted. So very similar, and it's very respectable for like family. Like it's a conservative culture. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, interesting. I think about that, and obviously, like India's culturally so different. Like even if you go from like this is a big generalization, but like the north, the south, and the east probably are three very big different cultural groups. There's obviously very different cultures amongst those two, and it's just really fascinating. But I think one thing that is probably somewhat common is there's like, I don't know, there's lots of big celebrations of culture. And I kind of love that. Like I find it's so beautiful when people have this thing that makes them feel excited, that they feel really passionate about, that they respect and value. And
Yeah, it's the same for South Africa. It's got a lot of cultures going. You got the, like I was talking before, you got the French, English, Dutch, Indigenous. You have a lot of cultures going. And as you were talking about Northeast, I think Northwest, South, or Northeast, South, in South Africa, you have a similar thing. Like you have North, East, and the South. The South is like where the British set up, and Northeast is where the Dutch are. And I think it happened because when the British started colonizing South Africa, the Dutch moved upwards into further upwards into South Africa, and there's actually a holiday for that, December 16th, and it's called the can't remember now, but it's celebrates the fight against 100 Dutch versus 1,000 Zulus, which happened when they were under fire. So the Dutch were getting attacked by a lot of different people. They were fighting off the British and the Zulus at the same time. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Is there an Afrikaans way of saying Christmas?
Christmas, Kersfees.
Kersfees.
And for Easter, it's Paasfees.
It's interesting. What does Vies mean? Is it like day, probably?
Day is dag, so there you go. It's very similar. I don't know what Vies is. Yeah, I have
Some
no idea.
homework for us to do. Interesting.
Yeah, indeed.
And are there any other sort of big traditions in South Africa?
Yeah. For like relationships in South Africa, like families, it's very like respectful, and it's European. Like the French kiss each other on the cheeks. In South African culture, it's similar. They kiss each other on the mouths. Yeah. Men, when they greet each other, they always shake hands. So there's a lot of respect to each other. People don't swear a lot, and when you talk to someone in like the workplace, you don't call them by their name. You call them meneer or mevrouw, as in like sir or ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Mr. or Miss.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
very
It's
respectful.
somewhat similar to India as well, which I think are probably similar to that sort of English-British legacy, potentially. But yeah, it's kind of the same where, but like when people meet each other, they like press their hands and sort of bow a little bit, like slightly, which is probably something that's a bit different. And people are also very, I think the key theme that sort of echoes in Indian traditions is very much like important to respect others, respect your guests, respect your elders. Like people won't usually talk back or like express an opinion very freely to their elders sometimes, depending on the context. And yeah, in a way,
Very family oriented.
very family oriented. Like family is very big. Like it's not regular for people to move out of their homes once they turn 18 or things like that. Typically, people tend to live with their parents until they either move cities for a different job or something like that, or they get married.
In South Africa, I think from what I've seen, people don't stay with their parents for long. After they've like gotten like a job and everything, they move out. So similar to Australian tradition, culture. Yeah. For music, what's Hindi music like?
So Hindi music used to actually be super film oriented. So Bollywood, which is the major film industry in India, used to so the way Bollywood movies work, which I don't know if you've seen any with some of your Indian friends, but
I've seen some.
they're filled with songs, right? They're like,
Yeah, they're really good.
yeah, and they're like they run for like 3 hours long with like 6 different song sequences running throughout the film.
And they're very loud, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind
Flashy.
of yeah, very loud, very big, very like celebratory, very people go all out. That's kind of what used to dominate sort of Indian music, like especially Hindi speaking music in recent years. But in the last maybe 10-ish years, there's also been a rise in some more sort of independent music. And there's been sort of this new wave of independent artists and rappers that have emerged, and they've sort of led rise into this like different sort of Western Indian kind of music. India actually has its first sort of inspired by all the K-pop that's been taking over the world and stuff. It has its what I believe is the first girl group as well, and so there's a lot more of the more indie music coming through, which might have been there previously, but I think what social media has become a lot more mainstream and a lot more out there.
Yeah. I heard you talking about Bollywood movies. South African movies. I haven't watched that many, but I've seen them in Australia, and you can see the accents in them. I think Afrikaans rarely comes out in the movies, but the Afrikaans is heavy. And for like the Afrikaans music, you can still hear the language, like English isn't used. But I think Afrikaans music is a lot less flashy. It's more calm. It's like pop, I would say. Yeah, I think so. I actually brought a CD, but be warned, I'm not an expert on music, so yeah.
Oh my God, are we getting to listen to Afrikaans music?
Yes, we might be able to.
That's so exciting.
Yes. Do you have any Hindi stories that you can share?
Well, so the longest word in the Hindi language is, in my opinion, not that long. It's Lopatgamini, which means train or train station.
Is it spelt really long?
No.
Oh.
And so I find that really interesting because that just means typically words in Hindi aren't that long because it's a very I think it's the way the language is spoken, and this might just be from what I'm used to as well, but people speak it very fast and they speak it very quick, and people I think tend to talk more rather than talk less. And so I think the way the language is constructed is it comprises of a lot more sort of short and quick phrases. So so you know how I was saying earlier, people add yar at the end of a lot of sentences. Another thing which, and I don't know if your Hindi speaking friends do this, they might be saying na, it's a very common thing. And I have a lot of friends who have moved from India to Australia for uni or for other things, and they still tend to say it at the end of their sentences. So I don't know if you heard, but in Singaporean English, people tend to say la.
Yeah.
So in Hindi English, people tend to say nah. So it's you're not going to do that, nah. Or you're not going to go there, nah. Please help me, nah. It's just a sort of, I don't know, almost a way to maybe add some politeness or some, friendliness potentially to a sentence.
So it's like saying no?
It's actually not no. It is kind of no, but it's just more I don't know, like it can be please. It's like come na. Like if I want a friend to come with me somewhere, I'll be like come na. Like, can we go na? Like, it'll just be like, come on. Like, you know, I don't even know. It's one of those things. I always find it fascinating. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure there's a famous scholar somewhere online that's probably done the job of trying to explain it. But it's very much one of those things it's just so ingrained in part of the daily language that I think people don't stop to think about what it means. And there's just sort of an understood meaning of the phrase.
Yeah. Yeah. Please in Afrikaans is asseblief, but again, I can't think of anything colloquial for Afrikaans. But talk about yes and no. What would yes and no be in Hindi?
So yes is ha, and no is na. But
So similar but different.
But not in the context of what I was just saying earlier. So yeah, like na versus nah, like it's a bit sort of different.
A bit dragged out.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. Homonyms, I feel like, are the toughest thing whenever you're learning a different language because it's just like, what on earth?
Yeah, like I think I've seen Chinese homonyms and they're very, very hard to do. Like there's whole sentences constructed of like she. Yeah.
I respect anyone who's trying to learn languages as a second language, but especially Mandarin, Cantonese, or a lot of the East Asian languages because they have so many intonations.
And especially when like your first language is English, because then you need to learn all the characters as well, and that's really hard, especially when there's like 3,000 characters or some in the alphabet, like with Japanese as well.
Have you met any friends in Australia that also learn or speak Afrikaans?
Yes, one of my childhood friends actually. Yeah, he knows Afrikaans too. Yeah, he's a good friend.
Is he also learning it at home with his parents?
I think no, See, a lot of people who learn a language, they don't speak it at home with parents, which is unfortunate. And like you were saying, it might become a lost language because they don't speak it, they don't keep it alive. And in my friend's case, like he, with like Hinglish, right? I think that's what he does. He speaks like Afrikaans, but very, very English dubbed, like very, very little Afrikaans. Yeah.
So do you reckon you feel confident enough in Afrikaans to have like proper conversations? Because I assume you said you...
Yeah, when I was in South Africa, yeah, I was able to hold conversations. I don't know, like I can't speak extremely fluently, but I can speak enough.
Yeah, nice. Do you reckon you'd ever try learning a third language?
My mom keeps urging me to learn Japanese, and it is like taught at my school. But you know, with everything else that I'm learning, I don't think Japanese would be, or any other language would be, you know, like a good time investment.
And what sort of advice would you have for someone, maybe someone like me, who might want to try and learn some Afrikaans?
Like you said before, with immersing yourself in like Hindi movies, yeah, immerse yourself in South African culture, Afrikaans culture, and then yeah, you'll probably get there a lot faster.
Do you have any...
Afrikaans is on Duolingo. Try that. You get it pretty easily.
Have you used Duolingo?
No, I haven't used Duolingo. I've thought of using it for a long time, but no, I haven't.
I tried using Duolingo to learn Russian, actually. It was very difficult. I mean, at least for me, I found it quite challenging. But I have a friend who has, I think, close to like something like an 850-day streak on Duolingo.
I was waiting for like the huge number streak. Yeah, Duolingo. It's a great application.
Do you have any Afrikaans like sort of movies or shows that you'd recommend someone watch?
Not at the top of my head, no.
Yeah.
I have a story, a South African bushman story.
Uh-huh.
So it's about a hippo. It's about how the hippo like came to be, and the hippo originally, when it was created, it started eating, and it just kept eating and eating, and it started getting bigger and bigger, and because it was so big, it started getting like burned by the African sun. So the hippo like looked at the water and he was like, wow, the water's like really cool. And he went in, and then after a while he had to come out, right? Because he's a land creature. And he was like, Creator, please let me be a sea creature so that I can like spend the whole time in the water. And the creator was like against it because the hippo would eat all the fishes because he's been eating everything. So one day, after all of the begging, the hippo's like, I promise I won't eat any of the fishes. And the creator's like, how would I know? And the hippo's like, oh, I'll eat grass reeds, and when I, like lay down, I'll wipe my tail across it so you can see there's no fish bones. And from that day on, hippos lived in water.
Wow.
But don't think they're friendly because there are a lot of hippo fatalities. So, yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Hippos are pretty dangerous.
Yeah. Is that like an African folk story? That was really beautiful.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Just reminded me of how my grandma, when she used to tuck me in, when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 or a lot younger, she used to tell me stories of like Indian folk stories of like, 2 birds, like a crow, and they all had like very valuable life lessons in it, and yeah, just like you've unlocked a memory in my brain.
Yeah. I was talking before about how we have like the Afrikaans has Christian values. What sort of like religion is Hindi like mainly?
I would say Hindi is probably associated most with the Hinduism religion, which is the largest religion in India, although India has many, many different religions, including Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, Jainism, a whole heap Christianity. But yeah, I think it probably dominates most there. Well, because Hindi is a descendant of Sanskrit as a language, which is like the parent language for many sort of North Indian languages. And Sanskrit is what is used in most religious texts for Hinduism, like the Vedas and some of the other stuff. And it's sort of written somewhat similarly, but it is a different language. So like Sanskrit is offered to people in schools to kind of learn it, but it probably is one of more of those languages where people don't use it in day-to-day conversation. And so it's very much people who are Sanskrit scholars or who make a deliberate effort to learn it actually know it. Like Hindi is probably the modern evolved version of Sanskrit. So even when you write out the letters for Hindi, the Sanskrit letters are sort of similar but slightly different. And so, yeah.
All right. Very interesting. Yeah, South Africa, I don't know the demographics of the religion, but like I said, Christianity is like a front runner. A lot of the Asian religions don't come up heavily in South Africa, but for Afrikaans as a language, it's also a model language because it tends to chop off a lot of the suffixes and prefixes when it comes to Dutch. Like for saying use, you'd say gebruik in Afrikaans, and in Dutch you'd say gebruiken. So chop off the N. And it's very similar, but still you take off certain parts of the language, so it's more modern.
So do you reckon someone who currently speaks Dutch would probably find it the easiest to pick up Afrikaans?
I would say both way arounds. You'd find it very easy to do both. Like if you speak Dutch, you should be able to speak Afrikaans already, I'd think, because it's like...
Really?
It's just derived. I think I'm able to speak like Dutch from Afrikaans.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Is it like read and written similarly as well, or just the speaking part, but the writing style is different?
Sorry? Oh, yeah, the writing style is also very different. Like, wherever you'd find an S in Afrikaans, it would be a Z in Dutch. Yeah. But it's not just Dutch. German is also very similar to Afrikaans, but that's probably because it's very similar to Dutch. So, yeah.
I didn't know Dutch and German were very similar.
Yeah, they a lot of European languages are very similar. If you like understand a few words of German, you'd be able to understand a few words of like all the other European languages too.
Yeah, interesting.
It's a very tightly knit community.
Is there any of those? Do you reckon you'd probably start learning Dutch?
Yeah. No, not one of the things on my to-do list. I don't think I'm going to learn Dutch, no.
Would you want to be able to teach Afrikaans to other people someday?
Just
like your parents taught you?
Probably, if I do have children, yeah, I would probably teach them Afrikaans just to keep the culture going, keep the language, alive. So that's probably what I would do.
Do you and your brother also speak in Afrikaans?
Yes. When we're at home, we always speak Afrikaans. That's just how it is. Sometimes we use English words, but just as you said, it's just English. I'm gonna Afro-English. There you go. Whatever.
Yeah, nice. Are you gonna go home and look up the Afrikaans word for armadillo and see if there is one?
Oh no! Like I said, we looked it up in the car.
Right.
Yeah, and it's Hordeldier. There you go. Which is like strap animal. I don't know why it's called that. I have no idea why it's called that. Yeah.
Interesting. Are there any other like sort of words that are fun to say in Afrikaans?
I always thought tiger was a cool word, but it's not as cool that I say it now. Tier. Right? It's not
Tier.
tier. Yeah, it's not as cool now, but yeah, at the time I thought it was nice.
Yeah, it's interesting because tir, which is slightly different, means like sort of like arrow, like bow and arrow in Hindi. And then tir, which is again slightly different, but means to tear, like in French, I think.
Right.
Or maybe I'm confusing that. But yeah, I guess it's just like it's so interesting how kind of how we were talking about homonyms earlier, but the same word spelt the same way can have completely different meanings.
Yeah. I don't think I would have known what bone arrow was. That's one of the ones I would have memorized. No. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have sort of any other stories about like your family and how you've maybe used Afrikaans in Australia?
Yeah. My family is Irish and Dutch. You can see it. My last name being Conway is of Irish heritage. So my dad's side is Irish and my mother's is Dutch. And myself, my parents, my grandparents, they were all born in South Africa, but the heritage goes a long way. Like for my mom, her last name is Van Wyk, which in Australia, people always pronounce it wrong. They say Van Wyk, but that's just the way it is, I guess. What's your last name?
My last name is Singhal, and people say it's Singhal. And people also mispronounce it sometimes. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I can understand you're used to saying words a certain way. Like I think, so my first name's Isha and people often pronounce it as Aisha.
Yep, I was about to say Aisha, yeah.
Yeah, which is one of those things where I remember like initially I used to find it quite confusing, but it's just one of these things you kind of do get used to it. Like I remember as a kid going like, who's Aisha? Who are we referring to? And I realized people were talking about me.
I'm pretty sure my mom like tried to make my name like as close to English as possible, like to avoid mispronunciations, but it still happens every now and then, you know. Can't avoid it. Even the simplest names gets pronounced wrong. Yeah. Do you have anything else to talk about Hindi culture, India?
Are there any so like one of the things I just enjoy about Hindi or speaking Hindi with my friends is just how I guess just how quick it is. Like people talk very fast, people talk a lot, and you get like a lot of different small things through, so you can get like a lot of different messages, and you talk a lot about things like, you know, just like if I'm to say it in English, what are you doing today? If I just say it fast, what are you doing today?
Yeah.
Whereas in Hindi, "Aaj kya kar rahe ho?" The language
faster,
itself is like a lot faster, and I think I quite like just enjoy that aspect of it, like how quick it is to just be able to do things. Are there any sort of similar traits in Afrikaans?
No, not really. Afrikaans, I think, is more like English. It's like a slow language. When I was in South Africa, I don't think anyone spoke Afrikaans really quickly. I think it was just like English. But yeah, differences. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anything today that I told you that you found particularly interesting?
I think all of it was really interesting. You know, there's a lot of similarities between the Hindi culture and Afrikaans culture, and it's really great to see. You know, it's been a really nice experience. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really, I find it so fascinating when you said that your parents try not to speak in English at home to try and encourage, but to speak Afrikaans, and I think that's quite amazing of them to.
Yeah. Probably going to do it with my children too. It's a very good strategy. Keeps the language alive.
Do you practice writing it as well?
Oh, I actually taught myself how to write it. My parents showed me the language, but we never practiced writing. But then when I started talking to my parents on text, I was like, I should learn how to talk in Afrikaans as a safeguard. And yeah, it wasn't too hard, you know. Like I said, English and Afrikaans are very similar.
Yeah, wow. And so do you reckon, like, if you looked at an Afrikaans written news article or something like that, you'd be able to read it?
I'd be able to read it, but like haphazardly. Like there'd be some places where I would struggle, but I should be able to read it.
That's so cool that you taught yourself how to write.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than you think it is, you know. Like, I feel like languages where the characters are, like I was talking about before, where non-European like languages, like Asian languages, like that have different characters, would be a lot harder because you need to like assign a sound to every character, a new character, so it's a lot different, you know.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Well, thank you for this. This was Lingo Lounge on CMS FM 91.1. I'm Isha. I was joined by Evan, and we had a great time learning a little bit about Afrikaans and Hindi.
Hope you enjoyed.
Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.
91.1. This program is brought to you by the Canberra Multicultural Station, along with support from the Community Broadcasting Foundation, Lingo Lounge, where cultures hit the mic.